Okay, so I spent a little bit of time just kind of firming things up a little, erasing out things, and again, the um, the BM2, the Factus BM2, that's the tool for you, okay? You want to get in there and start erasing in there. You're going to see that some things that you built before are getting erased out now as you put something in front of it. So the eraser isn't so much this thing that you use to fix the things that you screwed up as it is a drawing tool, okay? It's a drawing tool, right? All right, so the next thing I want to do is I want to create an archway. You might think, well, archway, that's really easy, Brad. All I got to do is just, draw a box and go, whew, No, actually, believe it or not, no, right? It turns out that an archway, if you do it that way, if you just wing that puppy, it's going to look like you just wung that puppy, okay? We are not winging puppies. That is not what we are doing here. So I'm going to start with a box. I'm going to draw a hole in this thing. And even though it's going to be tucked behind this inclined plane, I'm going to draw even the part that I don't see back there. That looks okay. Okay, so this is going to be an archway that goes in there. So I'm going to decide, if I were drawing a circle, an ellipse, right? If it was a circular hole going in there, I would draw that. And if I were drawing that, I would look at that and say, that does not look like a square, right? So what I would be drawing would be an ellipse in perspective, an elliptical kind of shape in there. If I wanted it to be a circle, I'd have to come up here until I find, circle land or something like that. Turns out with an archway, it can be, extra tall, not necessarily circular, etc., etc. What I want to do is I want to find the place where I'm going to start my curve. I'm going to decide that it's, not right there. I think that's an awkward place to do it. I either need to go above it or below it. I think I'm going to go slightly above it. Again, finding my vanishing point line. This line's got to make sense with my vanishing points. I'm going to say right about there. Got the place where it's starting, the place where it's stopping. So, again, surprise, surprise, got to use diagonals to figure this out. And in this case, what I'm trying to figure out is where exactly does it touch the top. Now, if this, like I say, if I was doing, a circular hole, I would crisscross, crisscross, and find where it touches all the way around. And that would be a reverse cylinder, right? It would be like a cylindrical hole that's going into my box. In this case, what I'm doing is drawing half of that, okay? The upper half of it. Now, when I say half, I realize that this line is not halfway between here and here. I've just decided that that's where, my archway is going to start. Okay, so that's where it's going to touch. That's where it's going to touch. And that's where it's going to touch. And if I think about drawing that in there, the way that these things work, right, you can see that they tilt in there. Here's the big mistake that a lot of people make when they're doing an archway. They just start there, and they draw this loopy thing in there. And it's wrong because in here, there's a major axis still for that half curve. There's still a major axis. So there's the flat side of it, and then there's the real, quick curvy thing. side of it, okay? That is the mistake which I've seen like 1,000 times. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake. The way that you're going to not make that mistake is you're going to start with the microcurve, trademark. It starts here, it touches here, it touches here. Again, if I was doing a circle, it would come down in here. If I look in there and see, well, it's going to be in there like that, right? It's going to tilt that way. What I want to do, maybe flip this thing over. Where am I? I'm over here. Just the ergonomics of it. If this thing starts here, ends here, this is my big long flat. Draw the big long flat. I'm telling you, my friends, if you don't do this, it will look wrong. Okay? You have to concentrate on where those things touch and what that curve is doing. This curve starts here, and again, if I'm throwing that ball, get rid of those glasses. It starts in one place and ends in another. Now my archway, check it out, that's not too bad. I don't know, stepping back from it, take a look at it. You can see this is the long part of the curve and this is the short part where it turns faster. Okay, so my archway, I'm going to be able to see this thing's going to come down in here and I'm going to see the back part of my archway. So I'm going to actually draw my box going in. I'm visualizing the part that I wouldn't see all of. To draw the other part of the arch, the part that's inside a little bit. This is going to be kind of a window with that arch, that kind of Romanesque arch. Whoops, that's not right. Come on. Come on, Slaw. It's all the way in here like this. Make sure that it's making sense with your other line. So I'm drawing a box here that's going into my box. Can you visualize that? I think you can. All this stuff that I'm drawing will be erased. Why draw it if I'm going to erase it? Because I have to understand it. You'll see. You'll see on this, but also on the next thing that we do. Okay, so I got to draw the other side of that box. Same thing down here. I'm going to draw the whole box, understand the whole box. And does this work? You know what? That's converging too quickly. What did I do? I screwed something up. I'm going to draw this line to where it's supposed to go. I think that I made this one too. I did. I made that one converge too quickly. Okay, so this is my inside part of the curve, and what the deal is with that is that this would be where that touches, the inside arch touches. This is where the top of it touches, right there. Why do you have to do this, Brad? Why do we have to do this? Why? Can't I just watch cartoons? And erase that diagonal out of there. Don't need that anymore. Need to find where this thing touches. And it touches, that diagonal is really, really close to the line that I needed to draw, so I needed to get it out of the way. It touches there, it touches there, and it touches there. Okay? Now this part I definitely will not see, right? I won't see that, but I will see this part of it. And the whole reason why I'm doing this is that, and first of all, if I like this curve up here, I know that this back curve is going to come out and be that far out, right? So I need to do the same thing here. Microcurve. I would say that even if you're not going to draw, even if you're not going to be able to see that, you might want to draw it so that you understand it, okay? You understand what that curve is doing, what its relationship is. Maybe I could have, should have, would have turned this and drew it upside down. But I'm looking at that front curve, and I'm looking at this curve, and I know that this thing has to come out here, kiss that thing. It only touches in that one place, and it only comes and touches this thing on its way back down here. Microcurve. Why I gotta do all this? The thing is, I would never be able to guess exactly what that curve is doing, how much I would be able to see. This is the only part of that curve that I would be able to see, is this. That's the only part that will stay in my drawing. But knowing where that thing comes up and touches in that one place, I have to draw this whole thing in order to get that believable. Now if I firm this all up here, drawing with my hand, this thing's going to come down here like this. There's just no way to guess how much of that curve I'm going to see. Now I can wing it, and the thing is, when you wing it, it looks like you wung it. So here's my little window ledge. I'm going to firm up my line. And now I'm going to erase the parts that I wouldn't see, which are considerable, right? Won't see any of that. All that stuff's inside. This part I would see. Firm that up. Again, draw it freehand. Don't be a wimp. You can do it. And make sure I get rid of all my scaffolding. I'm erasing all of this arch that I so carefully drew. And the back part of that box. All of that stuff was just to get that one line. There's something about that that's a little bit bumpy. Maybe I come back, look at it, and say, all right, I want to smooth that out some. That's not very smooth, Brad. That's not very smooth. Erase it back to ghost image. You can't bring that up too much. Try not to. Try not to mess with it too much, but if it's not quite right, it's not quite right, and you gotta fix it when it's not quite right. Being able to, I see this all the time where somebody just figures, well, I got this thing covered in here, and they just wing that. It looks like it. Looks like you wung it, and it looks wrong. Do what you need to do to get it done right. Archway, archway. That, my friend, is how you do the archway. Now, in here, I might decide, oh, okay, so let's see here. I would maybe see the edge of that room. I'm just kind of making something up here. What would that look like? Maybe I'd see it down here. Would I see it up there? Would I see it down there? I might try one or the other. Up seems wrong to me. I'm going to go down. It just gives me kind of a hint of a room that's inside there. Does that make sense? We're starting to have some fun now, okay? It should start to be a little bit more fun because it starts to look cool, okay? All right, talk soon.